46,000 kilometers in 90 days. I sent an AirTag around the world, quite literally. This AirTag took a journey of 46,000 kilometers across 4 continents, northern and southern hemispheres, multiple airlines, trucks, vans and mopeds, and I was able to track it within about 25-meter precision for almost the entire journey. I learned a lot about how mail services work with this experiment, and also learned what an incredible tool the AirTag is for tracking. Most of you will know what the Apple AirTag is by now, a small device that connects in the background via Bluetooth LE to any iPhone in the vicinity. Each time the tag is seen by a phone, the phone reports the AirTag's serial number and the phone's location to Apple's iCloud, and the owner of the tag can see that location information. Nothing else is stored, so even the person whose phone saw the AirTag doesn't know that it did. Bluetooth LE's usable real-world range is about 25 meters. Ideal conditions much more, but generally speaking 25 meters. So the location accuracy of any hit off an AirTag is going to be about the same. A phone will be within about 25 meters of the AirTag when it reports one of the positions. The more times the tag is seen with the phone in the same location, the more confidence in the reported position. The Find My interface on the iPhone looks like this. The icon, I chose a white dot with the arrow, is where the phone was, and the blue circle represents the circle of confidence for possible locations of the tag. The more times the tag is seen in that location by the same phone, the smaller that circle gets. You can see in these 3 screenshots how the position confidence grows the more phones see the tag in the same area. AirTags are like tile tags, but on steroids. With tile system, people have to be willingly part of the ecosystem. They have to have the app logged into their account, running in the background on their phone for the tile system to work. With the Apple AirTag, it all works in the background automatically, without any extra apps, on every iPhone, and for the most part without anybody knowing. There are so many iPhones in the wild that most well-populated countries allow an AirTag to be tracked with absurd detail. Apple have added some anti-stalking measures to the AirTag system, for example alerts that pop up on people's phones if they have seen the same AirTag for a certain amount of time and it's been away from its owner. For sure, one of my friends involved in this experiment did get a warning from my tag on his phone after it had tracked him for a day or more. It allowed him to click a link and see the location that the tag had tracked him, and so with iPhones at least, this anti-stalking measure does appear to work. Apple designed the AirTag for basic single-person everyday use. Put one on your keychain or your pet's collar and be able to find it reasonably quickly. You can tell it to make a sound to make it easier to find when it's local to you, and if it's been away from your phone for longer than a day or so, it emits a tone every now and then to try and draw attention to itself in the hope that someone will find it and scan it. And yes, you can scan an AirTag with any phone. If you're an Android user, it will pick up the NFC tag in the AirTag, and as long as the owner of the tag has placed it in lost mode, it will link you to a page on iCloud with contact information for the owner. What I did was a pretty severe abuse of that ecosystem. I just wanted to know how accurately an AirTag could be tracked in the wild when it was away from its owner. The answer's pretty mind-blowing. Knowing that the AirTag would eventually start emitting Find Me tones, muffling it was the key to success in this whole challenge. I didn't want it making a tone that was audible to anyone in normal circumstances, so for example I didn't want mail workers to hear this thing chirping away inside the envelope. It turned out that putting the AirTag in a small sturdy bag and placing that in a padded envelope was actually enough to muffle the sound. It's pretty quiet. So I did that and prepared for leg 1. The first leg of this adventure was to send it from here in Salt Lake City to Paul, a friend of mine, who lives in Rotterdam, in the Netherlands. So it started on May the 26th. Now, tracking an AirTag is entirely dependent on the density of iPhones in any given area, and in my local post office there were a lot of them, so I could look in the app and see a rough location of the AirTag updated about every 20 seconds or so after I dropped it off. About an hour later, I got my first on-the-move hit from an intersection closest to the freeway. The tag was in a postal van going to a USPS facility somewhere. Most likely another driver had pulled up next to the van at the traffic light, and their phone had registered the tag in the back of the postal van and updated its location on iCloud. From there, the next hit was at our local USPS auxiliary service facility, which was really close to the airport. I figured this would be the staging point for heading out on a flight to start its first flight of the journey, and the tag remained there overnight. On Thursday the 27th, things got a bit weird. Instead of heading to the airport, the tag started to show hits on the freeway heading south, and eventually stopped at a USPS facility in Provo. Okay, it spent a night in Provo, and then on Friday the 28th, it went back up the same freeway to a new storage and distribution center, again near the airport, where it spent a couple of hours before eventually starting to give me reasonably regular hits going back south down the same freeway again. Yeah, so it went from my house to the airport, to Provo, back to the airport, and then started heading south. Only this time it kept going south, like a long way south. I started to get hits off it way down I-15. Essentially, it looked like it was going to Los Angeles. So the trip to LA carried on overnight, and first thing on Saturday morning, I was able to locate the tag at the USPS International Service Center at LAX. It spent about 10 hours there before being moved to the Delta Cargo building, gave some random hits on the South Cargo ramp on the way. On Sunday, May the 30th, this is where it really started to get fun. In the morning, the tag showed up on the Swissport ramp, and then I started to get a huge number of hits from around Gate 21 at LAX Terminal 2. The sheer volume of hits was what you'd expect from hundreds of people being close to the AirTag. The area of certainty for the Apple AirTag's location dropped to about 10 meters, and at this point it was time to hit up the LAX airport website and Flight Radar 24. The LAX site showed flight Delta 392 was due to leave Gate 21 at 9 o'clock with the destination of New York JFK. This made sense as the AirTag was going to the Netherlands, so going east was a good start. The LAX website did show a flight delay, and at about 10 o'clock, it showed departed. At 20 past 10, I got a hit off the AirTag on the ramp at LAX. Someone in the plane close to the mailbag with the AirTag in it still didn't have their phone in airplane mode, so it was able to find the AirTag and report its position. After that, it went quiet, and I was expecting not to hear from it again until it landed in JFK. I set the Find My app to actively alert me next time it saw the tag, and then I just went about my day. What happened next was a complete surprise. A while before the flight was due to land, I got a hit off the AirTag from Buffalo in New York. And this requires some explaining because an exceptional set of circumstances had to be in place for this to happen. You see, commercial airliners come in three basic types: regional jets, narrow-body jets, and wide-body jets. Narrow-body jets, like the Boeing 737, are typically used for national flights, and importantly, the mail in their cargo held is normally held in a plastic sack, a mail sack. You can see in the diagram here, on the left, the distance from the cargo hold to a phone in someone's hand is not that far, and there's only one thin piece of aluminium aircraft floor between the two. On a wide-body aircraft, the type that would fly transatlantic or long distance, the cargo hold is designed to take standardized cargo pallets, meaning the envelope with the AirTag would be inside a mail sack, inside a cargo pallet, inside the container, or inside the cargo area of a much larger plane. A lot more metal sits around it. It's much more difficult to get a signal. So what happened over Buffalo is that exceptional set of circumstances have been met. The AirTag was in a plastic cargo sack. It was close enough to someone with an iPhone. The iPhone was on with a full active data connection, not just a text connection, but an active data connection to the in-flight Wi-Fi, and they had their GPS on. Their phone saw my tag through Bluetooth LE, took the GPS location of the phone, and reported all of that over the aircraft's data connection to iCloud. At the time when this happened, which was Sunday, May the 30th, 2021, I believe I was the first person to ever get a mid-air location update from an AirTag. The internet never tells you when you're wrong though, so I look forward to the comments section. So after the somewhat nerdy thrill of having had a mid-air ping off the AirTag, I opened up Flight Radar 24 and tracked the flight to JFK. I watched the track approach the runway, and as it touched down, I turned to my wife and I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to New York, where the time is now 5:25. Please remain in your seats until the pilot brings the plane to a complete stop, and you may now use your cell phones." Literally 5 seconds after that, I got a notification in Find My that the tag had been found. Basically what happened was everyone on the airplane turned their phones on, and pretty instantly the AirTag reported its position. The flight taxied to the predicted gate, and I started to get a lot of hits there, and about an hour or two later I was able to get consistent hits from the Delta Cargo Building 21 at JFK. At this point things came to a halt. The tag stayed in Building 21 until Tuesday, 48 hours later. I was able to get hits off it pretty much whenever I wanted, and it wandered around inside that building for 2 days. But on Tuesday morning, it suddenly appeared at Korean Air Cargo, then on the ramp. My guess, it was now on a pallet, being collected by a cargo tug and being taken out to the ramp to be loaded onto different aircraft. About 1:30 my time, I started to get a lot of hits off the tag again. This time it was around gates B36, B38, so I hit up the JFK website this time, and sure enough there's a Delta flight to Amsterdam that was scheduled to leave from that gate, Delta 46. Went back to Flight Radar 24 and it showed the flight pushing back from the gate on time, and I got one final hit from the tag about 3 minutes before takeoff, and it was towards the end of one of the runways. So for sure, the tag was on Delta 46 heading to Amsterdam. Time difference was going to come into play now. Whilst the tag was in America, I could track it reasonably well because I live in the mountain time zone, so the rest of the country is pretty much awake at the same time as I am. In Europe, however, starting with Amsterdam, they're 8 hours ahead of me, so there was a lot of chance for things to happen while I was asleep. Fortunately, the flight landed in Amsterdam while I was still awake, and I got hits at the predicted arrival gate, then on a ramp outside the cargo facility, and then in the KLM cargo building. I left the Find My app in Alert Me mode so that if there was an overnight location update, it would just leave me a notification, and I went to bed. On the Wednesday morning, I woke up, and sure enough, at 5 a.m. my time, there was a hit from the tag on the freeway heading south from Amsterdam. The tag spent a little bit of time in the post-NL sorting facility in Fore Park before showing hits on the freeway going east, and ending up at the post-NL depot in Waddinxveen later in the day, about 11 o'clock in the evening Dutch time. Again, I went to bed and left the Find My app in alert mode, and when I woke up on Thursday morning, there was an overnight alert on the road. Just after I checked that, I was able to see an updated location in the neighbourhood where Paul lives, and on Thursday at 7:49 a.m. my time, 3:49 in the afternoon in Holland, I got a WhatsApp from Paul saying that the package had been delivered. This corresponded with the location that was now showing in my phone. Near real-time tracking of the package from my house through my post office all the way over to Holland, and it was now in Paul's hands.
Hello, how are you today? People that have been following us on our live stream on Twitch and our YouTube channel, the Grindelwald Bastards, will know what this is all about. Today I have received a package from Chris out of Utah in the United States, and this package contains an AirTag. We have followed the AirTag throughout its journey, really thrilling stuff, and today we're gonna do the unboxing. But what I'm gonna do now is unbox this thing. Okay, here we are. See what we've got. Christmas present. So there might not be an AirTag in here after all. Okay, let's open this up. And here we have it. Chris's AirTag, all the way from the States to a place near Rotterdam in Holland.
And so that was the first leg completed. Not only was I able to track this AirTag with ridiculous accuracy at almost any time of day, and with the help of the airport departure websites and Flight Radar 24, I was able to make pretty good guesses as to which flight it was on, and also see where it was going around the cargo and mail servicing facilities. This is pretty crazy that you can do this sort of thing. On to leg 2. This time we were sending the AirTag from the Netherlands to a friend in Australia. Leg 2 started on Saturday, June the 12th. Paul dropped the package off at a local bookstore with a postal counter, and the package regularly pinged me from there through Saturday and Sunday until Monday when it started to move again. The first hit was from a post-NL sorting facility early in the morning. The second was from the same four-park facility that it passed through on its way into the country. And then it stayed there for a day or so, and on Wednesday, June the 16th, it showed up first at Emirates Air Cargo at Amsterdam Airport before moving to the Qatar Air Cargo facility in the afternoon. The tag stayed there for a day, prompting me to hit the cargo schedule websites and Flight Radar 24 again. This time I was looking for Qatar Air Cargo flights heading east. My best guess was that the flight would hub in Doha, and sure enough, on Friday, June the 18th, there was a scheduled flight, QR802, to Doha. On the Friday morning, while I was asleep, my phone registered a hit from the tag on the runway at Amsterdam Airport right around the time QR802 was scheduled to leave. So, when I got up, I was reasonably confident the tag was on that flight. I set the Find My app to alert me next time it was seen, and the update came around noon my time as the tag showed up on the cargo ramp at Doha International Airport, before moving to the Qatar Air Cargo hub a little bit later. The tag didn't stay put for long this time. On Saturday the 19th, it moved from the Air Cargo hub with a brief hit on the cargo ramp to the main passenger terminal around gate C13. At this point, the number of hits went up considerably, again like in LA and New York, because the number of passengers close to the AirTag was enough that it was giving a very, very accurate location. I got hits from gates C13, E1, and E3. My best guess was that the AirTag was in a cargo pallet being moved between aircraft as each one was offloaded onto a different aircraft. And in the end, the volume of hits settled on gate E1. And so I went onto the Doha Airport website, and it showed a flight scheduled to leave from E1 going direct to Perth. Qantas flight QR900. Right around the scheduled departure time as the flight pushed back in Flight Radar 24, the hits dried up as expected. I did receive one hit from a taxiway right next to the runway, which was kind of cool all in itself because the position in the Find My app showed the tag perfectly matched the location of the flight being shown in Flight Radar 24. The tag was definitely on QR900 going to Perth. Time zones be damned. Knowing stuff would happen overnight, I once again set Find My to alert me if anything happened while I was asleep, and sure enough, right around the time, around the predicted arrival time in Perth, my phone registered a hit at Terminal 1, Gate 51. A couple of hours later, it showed up at the Menzies Aviation Building, and at 7 p.m. my time, I got a hit at the security gate and the exit to Perth South ramp, and then the tag showed up at Australia Post's Gateway facility a little while after that. And this is where it got weird again. The tag arrived at Australia Post's facility on Sunday, June the 20th. I checked its location reasonably regularly, but it didn't move. It sat and sat and sat without any activity for 5 days. Promisingly, on June the 25th, on the Friday, it did turn up at the DHL Logistics building on the other side of the airport, but then by Saturday, it was back in the Gateway facility again, where it moved around between a couple of different buildings over the next days, but it never left the airport. Finally, on Friday, July the 9th, a full 2 weeks after arriving at Perth Airport, the tag moved to the Perth Mail Centre, where it stayed for 1 day before briefly showing up outside the parking garage, I guess as the truck left the facility. And again, because of the time difference, the next hit I received was from Ray's house on Monday, July the 12th, where the tag had finally been successfully delivered. Come on, Australia Post, 2 weeks to leave the airport? I know we're in COVID times, but that seems excessive.
Today's the 13th of July, and it's 10 to 12. The postman just came past. He delivered a little package for me. I think this is the package we've all been waiting for. It's exactly right up there. Look. There it is. So, Chris and all friends, here's your package. It took a little while. It's in here. I'm going to open it up and I'll send you the videotape. Have a good one, mate.
And so on to leg 3. Perth to Tokyo. This leg started on Thursday, July the 29th, when Ray dropped the package off at his local post office. On Friday the 30th, it had reached the Perth Mail Centre outside the airport again, where it stayed for a couple of days before being moved to the Australia Post Gateway facility on Sunday, August the 1st. Promising, much quicker than when it arrived at least. The tag did sit there for a couple of days without any movement until 2 days later when it showed up at the Qantas freight facility. In the evening of that same day, I started to see a lot of hits around Perth International Terminal, so I went back to start doing some detective work, this time with the Perth Airport Departures site and Flight Radar 24, and I was looking for routes from Perth to Tokyo, and nothing showed up. Okay, things get rearranged during COVID times, so maybe flights from the international terminal weren't going international. So I figured it must be going through one of the other big airports in Australia first, so I started to look for flights to Melbourne or Sydney, and pretty quickly turned up Qantas flight QF 646 that was going from Perth to Sydney, and the gate number matched the tag location, so I figured that had to be the flight. Because of the time difference, I was asleep while the tag was in flight. And on the next morning, Wednesday, August the 4th, I got a hit from the Qantas Freight International Terminal in Sydney. My guess had been right. It had gone on QF 646. It was now in Sydney. Again, it's COVID time, so things are subject to change. International flights get cancelled and don't go where they're supposed to go at the times they're supposed to go. So it wasn't surprising that the tag stayed put in Sydney for a little while until Saturday, August the 7th. Unfortunately, the next hit I got off it was after I left my phone in alert me mode, and it happened while I was asleep, and the hit came from the ramp between two of the terminal buildings in Sydney. This needed a bit more detective work because there were two flights from Sydney to Tokyo that day, and both had already left by the time I got up and realised that the tag was on its way. There was an ANA flight to Haneda and a Qantas flight to Narita. The ANA flight left from the left side of the terminal building, so it seemed unlikely that this one would be the one that I got the hit from. More likely was that it was on the Qantas flight, which left from the other terminal, and the reported position most likely came when the aircraft was being pushed back and maybe one of the ramp workers was near the plane or something. Anyway, I used Flight Radar 24 again and tracked both flights. The ANA flight landed first, a couple of hours ahead of the Qantas flight, and I got nothing. No pings off the Airtag. So I would have at the very least expected something off the ramp or at a cargo facility or something. Nothing. So I figured it had to be on the other flight. It had to be on the Qantas flight QF21 going to Narita. So I concentrated on following that flight. About an hour later, the Qantas flight landed, and about an hour after that, I got a hit from the tag at the International Air Cargo facility in Narita. Great, the tag had made it to Japan. Tyler, my friend in Tokyo, had told me that Japan Mail was incredibly efficient. I figured it couldn't be less efficient than Australia Post, so I was ready to try and track it pretty closely. Sure enough, when I got up on the Sunday morning, the tag had already made its way to the Kawasaki Higashi post office in Tokyo. As I understand it, this is their customs and clearing and import facility, so that made sense. The tag overnighted there, and by the time I woke up on Monday, August the 9th, it showed up at the Tokyo Hokobu post office, which is a large distribution center. 3 hours later, it showed up at the Chofu post office, which is really close to Tyler's house, implying it was going to be delivered on the same day. And at 7 p.m. my time, round about the middle of the day in Japan, I started to get a ton of hits off the tag, and it was wandering all over the district close to Tyler's house. I WhatsApped Tyler, and he said the most likely thing was it was now on a JP Mail delivery moped doing the rounds in his neighborhood. And sure enough, at about 8:40 p.m. my time, Tyler texted me this photo. And the position of the tag in the Find My app matched perfectly. Correct side of the road, sub-meter level accuracy. JP Mail lived up to their reputation of being efficient, 2 days from arrival at the airport to being delivered to Tyler.
Alright, the package has arrived here in Tokyo, Japan. Appears to be in good condition. No charges to import. So we'll open it up. I heard one beep from inside a bit ago. And sure enough, in classic Christmas wrapping, there's the goods, safely in Tokyo, Japan. We will get this all ready for the trip back to Chris here in the coming days.
While the tag was in Japan, it took in a few sights and sounds before heading off on the final leg of its journey. And so on to leg 4, homeward bound. By this point it ought to be pretty obvious just how impressed I am with the AirTag, so my expectations for the final leg were pretty high, expecting good consistent tracking taking into account the time differences. Tyler's first attempt to mail the package was on Friday, August the 13th. We probably should have known that would be a problem, Friday the 13th. JP Mail told him that track mail was not possible right now because of the wildly variable flight schedules, again due to COVID, so they couldn't guarantee delivery times and dates. For something valuable and not just a science project, this would have been a problem, but we were literally tracking our own mail, so I told Tyler just to send it untracked, unregistered as regular mail. At 6 o'clock, my time on Monday, August the 16th, the tag set off on its final leg from Tyler's house. An hour later, it was dropped off at the Chofosu Meki post office, say that 3 times in a hurry, and within 45 minutes, it had already made its way back to the Chofu post office. JP Mail were really on their game. A day later, and overnight my time, I got a hit off the tag at the Tokyo International Post Office, and by Wednesday, August the 18th, it showed up at the International Air Cargo Terminal at Haneda Airport. JP Mail's job was done, it was back at the airport, and there it stayed, waiting patiently in line for all of the outgoing Olympic gear that was clogging up the freight system. It wasn't until Sunday, August the 22nd, that I got another hit, and this time it was off the ramp in Haneda. It had already been loaded on a flight and I'd missed it. I popped open Flight Radar 24 and looked for flights from Haneda to LA, San Francisco and Seattle, the 3 most likely places for it to be making landfall in the US. A single option popped up, Japan Airlines 6712 to San Francisco. Okay, I missed the tag leaving, but I was fairly certain that's where it was. Being reasonably certain that it was on that flight, it wasn't a surprise that the tag went quiet. Sure enough, about an hour and a half after the flight landed in San Francisco, I got a ping from the arrival gate, and 2 hours later it showed up again at the US Customs building, and a short while after that it was at the USPS Gateway facility. On Tuesday the 24th, I woke up and found the tag had pinged my phone overnight from the USPS distribution center on the other side of San Francisco Bay, and 3 hours later I was starting to get a consistent set of pings off the tag moving north and east on I-80. The tag was basically in a truck again and heading back to Utah. Throughout the day, I checked with the Find My app and was able to watch the tag make its way east, through California and Nevada, and back into Utah until at about 9:30 my time, it entered the same DAS storage and distribution center that it left from way back on May the 28th. This was kind of an achievement. I think at the time I'm making this video, that represents the first time anyone had achieved near real-time tracking of an Apple AirTag circumnavigating the globe, back to the place it started. I mean, okay, technically it started from my house and it wasn't back with me yet, but being in that same storage facility represented a fixed point in space that the tag left from and then came back to. So yeah, that was kind of an achievement. And about an hour or 2 after it arrived there, it had made its way to the USPS auxiliary facility that was only 8 kilometers from my house. That was another place it went through on the way out. The next day, Wednesday, August the 25th, it sat in the USPS facility until around noon when I got a hit off it moving on I-80, being trucked to my local post office. A couple of minutes later, it showed up on the street outside my post office, and by 1:30 I was starting to get a constant stream of hits from inside the building. This is the same post office that it left from 3 months earlier. On Thursday the 26th, I got a few hits as the postman was doing his rounds, and just after 2 o'clock, the package was dropped off in my mailbox. Okay, the mailman's just been, and I hope Japan Post and some other mail. That can wait. Right. Very cool. So, let's open it and see. Feels like it's in there. Doesn't look like it's been opened by anyone else. And my blunt knife. There's the bag it set off in 90 days ago.
I wondered where that went.
And there's the AirTag. 46,000 kilometers in 90 days. Three months to the day, and 46,000 kilometers later, my AirTag had arrived back at my house. It had made an epic journey around the globe, crossing 4 continents, North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, and back into Asia, and finally back into North America. It crossed the equator twice. It visited both northern and southern hemispheres. It passed through the hands of 4 different mail systems: USPS, PostNL, Australia Post, and JP Mail. And it traveled on the networks of 5 different airlines and cargo systems: Delta, Qatar Air Cargo, Qatar Airways, Qantas, and Japan Airlines. And it still has 90% battery life. I feel at this point that I should mention something else that I did. A couple of months after the AirTag arrived home, I finally had the chance to travel to Europe. England opened up its borders a little bit, and after we filed all the paperwork and did all the tests, we were able to fly and spend a couple of weeks in England. I recommend that you get an AirTag and take it with you when you travel, if you've got an iPhone. Because without a doubt, the single most useful thing you can do with an AirTag is to throw one in your checked luggage when you travel. After the success of sending this around the world, I threw it in the suitcase just before we left. Given everything I'd learned from watching this thing go around the world, I figured I'd be able to tell where it was pretty much any time of day or night. It was kind of cool. I could see where it was in the airport after I checked the bag in. I could see where it was moving around the airports when we were changing planes. I could tell that it was on the same plane as me if I was getting a hit off it, because my phone could see the tag in the cargo hold. This picture shows the AirTag in the aircraft just as we left Heathrow for the flight home. On arrival in Salt Lake City, I was able to see it passing from the aircraft to the luggage handling facility to the baggage reclaim belt. So, yeah, I mean, by all means, put one on your bicycle or in your wallet, or put it on a leash around your pet's neck or something, but take one with you when you travel. Throw one in each suitcase, and you'll just know if your suitcase is going with you or whether or not you're going to arrive at your destination and not have your luggage. Anyway, that concludes the video. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll probably be talking about the AirTag again on the Grindelwald Bastards channel at some point. But this was a standalone project that we decided to take on and just make a video about it completely separate. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Love the AirTag. Great for tracking.